Good evening and welcome to the Cabinet meeting. It is now 7 p.m. and I would like to start this meeting. I'm Councillor Lynn Worrell. I would like to remind everyone present that this meeting is being live streamed and recorded for publication on the Council's website. Apologies for absence. Rhiannon, have we received any apologies?
No, we have not.
Thank you. Item 2, minutes. I move that the minutes of the Cabinet meeting on the 17th of September 2025 to be approved as a correct record. Are there any comments on the accuracy of the minutes?
No.
Looking around? No. Okay, so we'll take it that the minutes are approved. Item 3, I have not agreed to any urgent items of business. Save that we have received a nominations for the Cabinet appointment to Impulse Leisure, which is Councillor Victoria Holloway. Is that appointment agreed?
Agreed.
Okay. There will be a slight change to the agenda order with items 13 and 14 being heard first. Item 4, does anyone have any declarations of interest to make? Councillor Watson?
Thank you. I've got a declaration of interest for agenda item 19, which is a Culver Centre. I've got pecuniary interests, so due to the fact that I actually live right on the Culver Centre itself, so I will be leaving the room for that agenda item. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Watson. Anybody else? No, looking around, nobody else. Okay, so item 5, statements from the leader. I would like to make a statement tonight, and I wanted to say a few words about an incident last week that we had a significant impact on the lives of our residents who live in Brisbane House in Tilbury. I know that block really well. I lived in those flats for over 9 years, and so it has a really special place in my heart. A week ago, I was shocked to get a call to say that there had been a huge flood coming from a pipe at the top of the building that then cascaded all the way through the flats below, causing a great deal of damage as it went by. We had to quickly switch off the power and evacuate all the residents. Emergencies rarely go smoothly, but I'm hugely grateful to the council officers and emergency services who did everything that they could to help residents to get out of the building and set up at the rest centre nearby. I would like to thank the Tilbury Community Centre for the role that they played that night and continue to play over the last week. Since then, we've been working day and night to make sure all the people living in the block have a safe, warm and dry place to stay while we assess the damage to their homes and put a plan in place to make it right. We have had officers on hand at the Tilbury Library and Hub each day since this happened to offer support and advice to anyone who needs it, and each household has been given a named officer who is looking after their needs. I was down the library the following day and over the weekend and was so pleased to see the community as well as the council staff rallying around to support the families in what must be the most difficult of circumstances. We know that the council's first objective must be to get the people home as soon as possible, but we can't yet say when that will be. The affected residents will be the first to know when our surveys are completed and are clearer on timescales. I just want to end up by saying a huge thank you to all those affected residents for their understanding and patience. I can't imagine anything worse than having to leave your home unexpectedly in this way. But I want to assure them that we will do everything we can to work quickly and get their homes ready for them to return as soon as possible. Thank you for listening, and I now want to return back to the agenda. So I'm going to move on to item 6, briefing on policy, budget and other issues. I don't have anything for that. And then on to item 7, no petitions have been submitted by members of the public tonight. Item 8, questions. We've had no questions submitted to non-executive members. Item 9, I'm not aware of any matters referred to Cabinet for consideration by Overview and Scrutiny Committee. So we'll take that as a no. Item 10, delegated decisions taken since the last meeting. A list of delegated decisions taken since the last meeting is provided in the agenda and published online. So then we are moving to item 13, bus improvement plan. Councillor Holloway, could you please introduce your item?
Thank you, Leader. Thurrock Council is the designated local transport authority managing local bus functions for our borough. As the LTA, the council works with bus service providers to support the delivery of bus services with a responsibility for key services such as management of the English National Concessionary Travel Scheme. The council adopted its first bus service improvement plan, known as BSIP, in October 2021 and was subsequently reviewed and revised in May 2024. For 2025-26, we have been awarded £1,954,465 from the Department of Transport to deliver our BSIP. We have been working up detailed delivery plans as a result of this funding award. The delivery programme follows public engagement and outputs from the enhanced partnership that we've set up with 5 bus operators in Thurrock.
Does anybody have any questions for Councillor Holloway on this? Councillor Ken?
Not so much a question as a comment, really, and I really welcome the 2 resident-led trials, one for Thurrock Hospital, one for Balvin, and I really support this kind of initiative, and I know we're working with colleagues in Suffolk who have been doing this kind of stuff for some time, and I think it could be a model of how we provide better public transport going forward. But I guess I have 2 questions. The first is around the contribution of health. When it was decided to put the diagnostic centre at Long Lane, many of us argued that it wasn't in, perhaps the best place because it's inaccessible. So we just welcome any views we have from kind of health partners. And the second is using this to position ourselves for when we have the combined mayoral authority in a little over a year now that will take on responsibility for buses. What are we doing to kind of future-proof these kind of initiatives?
First, on the health question, it might be for my health portfolio holder to help chip in on this one. But yes, I do remember when that went through with regards to Long Lane, and making sure that access to not just Long Lane facilities, but all medical facilities and other infrastructure, shops, medical facilities, etc., are considered in any kind of transport plan. And with regard to future proofing, again, I mean, that's one for the detail that we'll be working through with as part of our LGR planning. And I really do think it is very important and that we have exceptional plans for this and others, so that when it comes to joining other councils, they can look at our plans and our work and use that as an exemplar, and we're the one leading on transport as well as every other area across the council.
Councillor Hooper, did you want to say something about the bus routes to the diagnostic centre?
Yeah, I mean, this is something I've raised with health colleagues and our own transport department in the last year, because the general feeling was a great facility, the diagnostic centre, but was it in the right place? There was only an hourly bus to the diagnostic centre and no Sunday service. What will be starting in January is an hourly Sunday service, starting before 7 in the morning, because the diagnostic centre is open from 7 in the morning till 7 in the evening currently. So there will be a Sunday service, which is joint funded by the Integrated Care Board and by ourselves. So that will be starting early in the new year in January.
Thank you.
We will be monitoring the situation. Can I just say we are going to be monitoring the situation because it is private companies that are providing these services. The more people that use these services, the more argument you actually have for more regular service. So we're just going to monitor this over the coming months.
Thank you. Has anybody else got any questions? No. Councillor Holloway, would you like to do your recommendations?
Yes, of course. Cabinet is recommended to approve the planned capital and revenue spend to support bus service delivery across Thurrock. This expenditure is proposed to be funded from 2025-26 bus service improvement plan grant funding, remaining carried forward 2024-25 bus service improvement plan grant revenue allocations and relevant 106 funding. Does that make sense?
quite long, but we agree. Yeah. Thank you. We're moving on to item 14, which is the Thurrock Transport Strategy, which Councillor Holloway, this is you again.
Thank you again, Leader. We have a statutory responsibility under the Transport Act 2000 to produce a local transport plan. The Thurrock Transport Plan 2013 to 2026 is the Council's existing compliant local transport plan. The Thurrock Transport Strategy is the policy centrepiece of a future local transport plan, and it's vital to ensure that Thurrock's future transport needs are represented and evidenced. This substantial report in Appendix 1 compromises 7 sections addressing essential topics, including the policies and the future infrastructure interventions. I just want to highlight a couple of really key sections. All of it is excellent, but 2 in particular. The first section, our vision, goals and policies for transport, in Section 5, identifies a long-term vision and distributes 22 policies amongst 7 key goals and themes. The themes align with either national or local priorities, including prioritising people and place, reducing transport emissions and improving air quality, diversifying travel choices and diversifying travel choices, maintaining and enhancing safety, driving economic growth and regeneration, promoting sustainable development, and managing and maintaining network performance. Section 6, again another important section, sets out an ambitious agenda for infrastructure enhancements, either long identified known gaps or those identified by work undertaken through the local plan process and growth-led schemes. The report seeks the approval of the draft and to undertake public consultation for 9 weeks from the 28th of November to the 1st of February. The final transport strategy will then be taken to Cabinet in June and then on to full council for adoption.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any questions on this agenda item? Councillor Watson.
Thank you. It's just a statement, really. I'm really glad to see this come forward. It's just a key piece of work, especially dovetailing into the local plan that we need to get across the line as well. So, well done to you and the officers for actually achieving all of this. So, thanks.
Nobody else? No, can't see any hands. So, Councillor Holloway, would you like to do your recommendations?
Thank you, Councillor Watson, for recognising the importance of this plan and positive feedback. I know that officers work so hard on these reports and they really do appreciate the feedback. So Cabinet is asked to approve the recommendation to approve the draft Thurrock Transport Strategy given in Appendix 1 for public consultation for a 9-week period commencing Friday the 28th of November until Sunday the 1st of February 2026.
Thank you. Agreed. Everybody? Agreed? Okay, thank you. We're going to move on to back to item 11, which is education, good level of development targets. Councillor Hartstein, could you present your item, please?
Thank you, Leader. So this report sets out how we will deliver on our commitment that every child in Thurrock deserves the best start in life, regardless of background. It responds to the Government's national strategy, giving every child the best start in life, and the statutory targets issued by the Department for Education. By 2028, the expectation is that 75% of children nationally will achieve a good level of development by the end of reception. For Thurrock, the bar is set even higher at 78.6% overall and at least 66.9% for children eligible for free school meals. This stretch target recognises the progress we've already made in Thurrock. Thanks to the hard work of our schools, our early years settings and the Council's early years team, Thurrock consistently outperforms the national average and through this strategy we strive to raise the bar higher and close the gap on inequality. To meet these expectations, this paper proposes 2 key steps. First, the establishment of a Best Start steering group. This group will bring together representatives from education, early years, public health and family hubs to oversee strategic planning, delivery and monitoring of early years outcomes. Second, the development of a Best Start local plan by March 2026. This plan will identify local needs and gaps in provision, set out targeted actions for free school meals and vulnerable groups, and integrate health, education and family support services to deliver a coordinated response. Thank you, Leader.
Anybody got any questions? I don't know which one was first. I'll go with Councillor Morris Cook and then I'll come over to you, Councillor Heath.
Thank you. It's a really amazing report, and it's really good to see our positioning in it, because I think it shows that we are above the average. What I do want to ask is, and it would be wrong if I didn't, will this require any additional investment funding? And if so, will it be coming in form of a grant, or is it from current resources?
Did you want to answer?
Yep, thank you. No is the answer. No, there's no
Jolly
extra no extra funding required. It will come from current budgets already, and it's going to be met, from, as I say, from current budgets. And just in terms of the health checks, the fact that we're expecting 100% of the health checks to be carried out now for 2.5-year-olds, that has already been baked in as well. The funding has already been provided for that 100%. So no extra funding. Thank you.
Councillor Heath?
Thank you, Leader. It's just a comment, really. It's just really pleased with to hear about this report. You know, the fact that Thurrock have a stretch target evidences the success of the hard work that the early years settings and the council early years teams are putting in to support our children. And bringing in the Best Start family hubs is going to offer additional support for the families that need it. So it is really good news.
Did you want to go back? No. Okay, thank you. Just for comment then. Councillor Hooper.
I really welcome this too. With the kind of closures of the short start scheme, which I think was devastating to some of our communities, and bearing in mind over 23% of the population of children are in poverty in Thurrock, I think the family hubs and the starting of the Best Start for Life plan is just exactly what we need. So well done, and I'm looking forward to the positive outcomes of this work.
Nobody else? No, then Councillor Hartstein, would you like to do your recommendations?
Thank you, Leader. So, recommendations. For the reasons set out in this report, the Cabinet is recommended to 1. Acknowledge the statutory GLD targets set for Thurrock Council by the DfE.
Agreed.
Agreed. Number 2, approve the formation of a Best Start steering group to lead strategic planning and delivery.
Agreed.
Number 3, endorse the development of a Best Start local plan by March 2026.
Agreed.
Thank you. And number 4, agree to the corporate targets and milestones suggested and monitor through reporting of corporate targets set out in paragraph 4.8.
Agreed.
Thank you. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you. And just moving on to item 12, which is schools traded services. Councillor Hartstein, I believe this one is yours too.
Thank you, Leader. So this report seeks Cabinet approval to bring the traded schools catering service to a close. This means ending the provision of traded catering services that the Council currently delivers to schools and giving notice on existing contracts, with all arrangements concluding by July 2026. We are moving to this cessation because the service no longer fits with the Council's operating model. It is not a statutory duty for a Council to provide, and it is the right thing to do for a Council in intervention. This will bring us in line with other local authorities and prepares us for local government reorganisation. Whilst historically the catering service has generated a return on investment, it is anticipated that the number of schools contracting with the Council will further reduce in the coming years. As we move forward, therefore, the ability to balance costs with budget is not guaranteed, and we are not prepared to hold this risk. Acting responsibly on this, we have moved promptly to put forward this report, and we will be giving those schools that are currently contracted with us ample notice to ensure no disruption in catering services for the children of Thurrock. We commit to working closely with our schools to ensure a smooth transition. This decision is about focusing on what delivers the greatest value for Thurrock's children and families. Thank you, Leader.
Does anybody have any questions on this one? Councillor E.
Thank you, Leader. Yeah, I agree with the report and everything. I've got 2 questions. The first one is, are you confident that no vulnerable child will be at risk of going hungry in school once they're responsible for providing the meals themselves? And also, who will monitor food standards to ensure the government school meals food standards are being met by the schools? Thank you.
Councillor Hosty.
Thank you, Leader. For both of those, it's the school's responsibility. It's the school's statutory duty to ensure that all children who are eligible for free school meals are provided with a meal. And then if the schools, when the schools provide their catering service, however they choose to do it, it's up to them as well to ensure that their meals, the service that they provide, fits in with the school food standards. And that is their duty, again, the schools, not the local authority. Thank you, Leader.
Did you have any other questions? Is that answered your question? Anybody else got any questions? Can't see anybody indicating. Councillor Harsting, to do your recommendations, please.
Thank you, Leader. For the reasons set out in this report, the Cabinet is recommended to 2.1, approve the cessation of the TSCS and the giving of notice to terminate all current school catering contracts so that they will come to an end by no later than the 31st of July 2026.
Agreed.
Thank you. Thank you. 2.2. If recommendation 2.1 is approved, to delegate authority to the Executive Director of Children's Services in consultation with the lead member for Children's Services, Education and Community Safety to take all steps required to terminate the contracts and work with the schools to facilitate a smooth transition to any alternate catering service supplier that they identify as their replacement contractor.
Agreed?
Thank you, Leader.
Thank you. That moves us on to item 15, which is Planning Advisory Service Update. Can I ask Councillor Watson to introduce the item?
Thank you, Leader. This report is an update on the progress we've made in strengthening our planning services. Some of the highlights that I will run through are the Corporate Risk Register has been updated to include all key planning risks, ensuring robust governance. The delivery of the Greenbelt and infrastructure training in April through hybrid sessions and virtual planning knowledge nuggets, as well as mandatory face-to-face planning committee training sessions, was held on the 22nd of May. Planning has secured funding for 2 graduates planning assistants via the LGA Pathway to Planning scheme. Recruitment was completed ahead of schedule in September, and key vacancies have been following the restructure, including the appointment of a new head of development management. Stakeholder engagement continues to take place regularly with the Planning Improvement Board that is currently in place that meets every 3 weeks, and the Local Plan Steering Group has been active since February with recent meetings in June, July, September and yesterday. We've also introduced a Power BI dashboard to track service improvements and performance across multiple metrics in real time. The planning services just continue to improve.
Does anybody have any questions? Councillor Morris-Cook.
Just really pleased to see this and to see the engagement with the risk register, because obviously it is really important, and the use of Power BI, which obviously we know saves an awful lot of time and gives real-time and accurate information. So I think it's a really good report and it's really good to see.
Thank you. It almost feels like we've come a long way on this journey. So absolutely, it's a nice report to read, you know, to see the journey that we've been on. So thank you, and thank you for those that have made significant improvements in this area. So with no more questions being indicated, I'll ask you to read your recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you. For the reasons set out in this report, the Cabinet is recommended to note the continued progress with the implementation of the Planning Service Transformation and Improvement Plan, that's a PSTIP2, following the very positive PAS revisit to Thurrock Council in January 2025, as outlined in the past review report presented to Cabinet on the 7th of May 2025.
All agreed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 16, we're staying with you, Councillor Watson. Norwich to Tilbury DCO Development Consent Order, relevant representation.
Thank you, Leader. So, this report is a council position on the Norwich to Tilbury Development Consent Order and approval of our relevant representation. This is a national significant infrastructure project, and our decision today will shape how Thurrock's interests are represented during examination. National Grid proposes a 400 kV electrical transmission line from Norwich Main to Tilbury North, including a new substation near Limford and associated cabling works. The scheme is critical for national energy resilience and the transition to clean energy. The project does have implications for our borough. For example, the visual impact of pylons and substation, traffic and air quality concerns, noise disruption beyond local standards, heritage and archaeological risks, and potential constraints on growing sites in our emerging local plan. Our relevant representation will outline these highlights, including cumulated impact with the Lower Thames crossing, extending work hours beyond Thurrock's norm, traffic and air quality risks, heritage impacts on designated and non-designated assets, flood risks for whole roads and impact on council assets and housing delivery. The report recommends opposing the scheme as currently proposed unless these concerns are resolved.
Does anybody have any questions on this one? Thank you. You know, it feels almost so significant, doesn't it, that, you know, making sure that our objections are clearly heard. You know, our residents will expect us to be pushing back with this, you know, with already another major project coming straight through. It's going to almost change the landscape of Thurrock, you know, so yeah. I'm really worried about it, but absolutely that we're objecting. Did you want to say something, Mark? Councillor Hooper?
If this doesn't go ahead, if a plan commission, if we decide we don't want this, for example, can we actually stop it? And two, what would the impact be on growth locally, be it with our industries and our housing developments if we don't allow this to happen?
Thank you. To be frank, it's a bit like the Lower Thames crossing. So we can put an opposition into it, but still they can go through the DCO because it is a national infrastructure project. So it doesn't just, it's not a Thurrock's decision, it actually goes across the Secretary of State and along the line completely. In terms of growth risks, most of the developers now have highlighted this and got this onto their radars. So their developments that they're trying to bring forward actually takes in consideration the Lower Thames crossing as well as the Norwich to Tilbury line as well. The cabling, they're still coming back on. They've put more underground that can sterilise some of the earth, some of the ground around that cabling, and that's still being worked through. So this is just the very first part of it, and that's why we've gone through and we've said these are the issues that we have found as Thurrock Council, and then that will be to be taken into consideration before we go further to the next examination piece. That will be done by the Secretary of State and Planning Inspectorate.
Does that answer your question? Okay. Anybody else? Can't see anybody else? Okay. Councillor Kemp.
Yeah, I just support the recommendation. I think that most of us, in principle, accept the fact that we need to be getting clean energy into the south of the country, into Thurrock. I think we all support that. But what we can't support is this scheme as it is currently proposed. It just does too much damage to Thurrock. And I really hope that by being clear in our opposition, but kind of supportive in our opposition, that we can get some movement, we can get some change and get a scheme that we can all live with.
Absolutely, I think we all agree with that. Thank you. Nobody else? Councillor Watson, do you want to do your recommendation?
Thank you, Leader. I'd like to also add an additional recommendation, if that's okay.
You absolutely can.
Thank you. So the recommendation, for the reasons set out in the report, the Cabinet is recommended to 1. Submit the relevant representation of Appendix A, which identifies the technical areas that requires a resolution by National Grid. 2. Oppose the scheme as it's currently proposed unless the concerns outlined in Appendix A are resolved. And if it's okay, the additional one is I would like to seek and add a recommendation which provides delegated authority to the Chief Planning Officer in consultation with the Cabinet Member for Good Growth, myself, to strengthen the reputation with the evidence to support the Council's case at an examination in public. The core position remains unchanged and the substance of the content of Appendix A will remain.
Do we all agree those recommendations? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're now moving on to item 17, which is the Local Council Tax Support Scheme 2627. Councillor Morris Cook to present the report.
Thank you, Leader. The purpose of the Local Council Tax Support is to provide financial assistance to council taxpayers on low incomes by reducing their council tax liability after other discounts are applied. The annual review is under Schedule 1A of the Local Government Finance Act 1992. The council must review its scheme for working age claimants annually. Pension age claimants are protected under national regulations, so changes can only apply to working age schemes. If the scheme remains unchanged, no public consultation is required. If changes are proposed, a full public consultation must take place before the implementation. The scheme must be finalised by the 11th of March each year. Failure to do so triggers a default government scheme, which could cost this council an additional £1.5 million. The current position is our working age local council tax scheme broadly mirrors the former council tax benefit system. However, due to a 10% cut in central fundings when this was introduced, to ensure the scheme remained affordable, Thurrock, as with many authorities, introduced a maximum support level, and it's currently 75% in Thurrock. Other key features of the scheme include income disregards, including the first £25 of earnings, child benefit, with a capital limit of £6,000, and a full disregard for disability and military compensation payments. The estimated cost for 26-27 is £4.5 million. This is subject to the caseload trends and council tax increases. As detailed within the report, the current scheme drives high collection levels and minimal complaints, with levels of support remaining broadly comparable with other Essex authorities. As a result, no changes are recommended for 26-27. The current scheme will continue. Analysis identifies potential savings of between 60 and 298,000 through options such as banded schemes, band restrictions, but these will be reconsidered for 27-28. With the current cost of living challenges, it was not considered appropriate at this time. Savings estimates exclude transitional costs, bad debt provision and reduced collection rates. Future considerations. Local government reorganisation will require the harmonisation of council tax levels and local council tax schemes across the new unitary authority. For now, the focus remains on Thurrock and our improvement journey and maintaining the appropriate support for vulnerable residents. Alongside the local council tax and other available discounts, there are additional safeguards built into the council's recovery process aimed at assisting residents who, through often no fault of their own, find themselves in difficulties. The guiding mantra in such cases is being able to assist the resident in getting out of debt rather than getting the debt out of the resident. Current initiatives include sending various additional communications and interventions beyond the statutory requirement via text and email, as well as providing a dedicated officer to provide the one-to-one support for our vulnerable residents. Further to this, the Council holds regular face-to-face debt surgeries to provide residents with the opportunity to discuss resolution before enforcement action commences. Wider communications are also being sent to assist in promoting the fact that all council taxpayers can opt to pay their annual bill over 12 monthly instalments or sign up to My Account via the council website to use an access which accesses a wide range of council tax services, including setting up direct debits, where users can select from 3 payment dates, the 10th, the 18th or the 28th. You can opt for paperless billing, check when your payments are due, check your history, and check the household details that are used to calculate the bill.
Thank you for your very extensive introduction, Councillor Moskip. Does anybody have any questions? No? I think you've covered anything that anybody would want to ask you, but I'm really pleased to see that we're continuing this level of support. You know, it's absolutely important that in such hard times, we do all that we can. You know, when we're looking at, you know, what is difficult budgets, that we do protect those that need protecting.
Absolutely.
And so thank you. I have got a question from Councillor. No, you haven't. No. You have? Oh, you have. Councillor Watson's got a question.
Sorry, it's not a question as such. It's just that I'm really glad to see this come forward, and I'm really glad that we're still going to hold some money in, because in the current climate with the cost of living, I just think it would be really inappropriate for us to start looking down and cutting into this right now. So, or that was really personally, but so it's really good to see. So thanks for bringing it forward, really.
And we did look at it, and that's why I have added the bits on at the end, because it's not just a report about the council tax scheme, it's about how people within the Revs and Bens can assist residents, which I think is something that is often missed, that there are other opportunities. Because if someone does miss a payment, it doesn't mean if they can't make one payment, they're certainly not going to be able to pay the rest of the year, which is often what the demand is. So it's really important we engage early, as much support as we can. Recommendations?
Yeah, would you like to read your recommendation?
For the reasons set out in the report, the Cabinet's recommended to note the analysis and review of the current local council tax support, LCTS, scheme for working age people, that the council recommends to council the approval of the local council tax support scheme for working age people for 26-27, which has been in place since 2017 and 18 with 0 changes.
All agreed? Agreed. Thank you. Moving on to item 18, which is asset disposal, lease to NWES at Riverside Business Centre, Tilbury. Can I ask Councillor Morris Cook to introduce this item?
Councillor Heath.
Oh, okay. Okay. Councillor Heath, over to you.
Thank you. So the purpose of the report is to seek Cabinet approval for a short fixed-term lease from the 21st of December 2025 to the 31st of July 2027 to NWES Norfolk and Waveney Enterprise Services, who already manage and operate Riverside Business Centre. The lease formalises occupation, resolves governance and legal risks, and protects income. It aligns Riverside with the lease arrangements already in place for NWES at the George Street and Old Courthouse business centres. So NWES have operated Riverside successfully since 2015, with occupancy consistently above 85%. The proposal regularises occupation, supports good landlord governance and ensures income protection. The income to the council is approximately £185,000 per year, equating to approximately £298,000 over the lease term. This is based on the long-standing 90-10 profit share model. The lease length is aligned with other centres managed by NWES to enable future Thurrock flexibility relating to the future management or ownership of these centres. Independent valuation advice confirms the turnover-based arrangement is market standard for serviced office centres. There will be no change to building use, no change for tenants, and no capital or revenue cost to the council. Thank you.
Yeah. Does anybody have any questions? No? Straightforward? Yep. No? Councillor Watson? No? Okay. Would you like to go straight to your recommendations?
So for the reasons set out in this report, the Cabinet is recommended to approve the grant of a lease to NWES Property Services Limited for the Riverside Business Centre, and to delegate authority to the Executive Director of Place in consultation with a Section 151 officer and Cabinet Member for Public Protection, Constitutional and Civic Affairs to finalise the terms of the lease and enter into the agreement.
Recommendations agreed? Okay, thank you. Moving on to item 19, which is the proposed sale of the Culver Centre. So we'll wait for Councillor Watson to leave the room. Hopefully I've got the right person this time. Councillor Morris Cook, I think this one actually is yours.
I'll turn it on this time. Cabinet is asked to agree in principle to dispose of the former Culver Centre site in South Ockenden. The site is surplus to requirements and part of the Council's asset disposal programme supporting our financial recovery. The site is 4.5 hectares, including brownfield land and informal open space. The Cabinet approved disposal to the Thurrock Regeneration Limited in January 2022 with planning consent for a residential scheme. The transfer did not complete. The site has since been marketed. As the site includes informal open space under Section 123(2)(a) of the Local Government Act, it does require public notice. Notices were issued and objections have been received, along with a petition. Most objections concerned future development, not the disposal. Today's decision is about disposal only. Any development will go through the planning process with a full consultation. The sale would provide a capital receipt to support the Council's improvement and recovery plan, reducing debts and costs. The open market disposal ensures best value and transparency under Section 123. The Council is being asked to consider the objections and agree in principle to dispose of the site and to delegate authority to the Executive Director of Place in consultation with the Section 151 Cabinet Member for Finance and Resources, and I do want to add in the Leader of the Council because I think it's important to agree. The decision does meet statutory requirements, follows a transparent process and supports our financial recovery. It brings the site back into productive use while ensuring future development is managed entirely through planning.
Thank you, Councillor Morris-Cook. Does anybody have any questions? Councillor Holloway? Councillor Hooper after.
Thank you, Leader. Of all the difficult decisions we have to consider after inheriting a financially bankrupt council from the Conservatives, selling land and assets, I think, is one of the worst. Having been a councillor for 14 years now, I understand what being a councillor and a cabinet member entails. However, being a councillor and a cabinet member of a bankrupt council under intervention from commissioners and under a microscope of central government is an experience I'm not sure I'm going to get used to. There are two parts to the Culver land. One part housed former buildings, and that I would understand selling. The other part is green space, and it breaks my heart to have to see it for sale. I have successfully campaigned against the Conservative administration when they tried to sell parcels of green land in South Ockenden, not realising that these decisions to sell green space would someday end up in my own lap. It does feel wrong, and I don't know what's going to go on the land, but I think we can guess, but it does feel wrong, and it doesn't feel fair. But sadly, we don't live in a world that's fair. I do understand that if this council was a house, my house, and I was in a financial situation outside of my control that meant that I needed to make decisions that I didn't want to make, to sell some of the lovely contents of my house, for example, I know I would have to do that. I'd have to do it to keep the house. I'd have to do it to keep the roof over my head. And that's what we're doing. We're working to keep the roof on. We're all just trying to keep the roof on. But these decisions are out of our hands. And I think as individuals, if we said no to this, we all know because of the intervention that commissioners would take this decision out of our hands and the land would be sold from us anyway. So I think by owning these decisions as a cabinet, we are demonstrating to forces outside of our control that we do know how to make tough decisions and how to rebuild the council and the community after a financial catastrophe. We didn't cause this, but we do have to put our hands up for these decisions and its aftermath, sadly. It isn't politics, because I think politics we could all do, and in comparison, politics now feels like the easy bit. But what I've learnt through this intervention is that it's not just politics, it's just finance, and that's why we have to put our hands up for this tonight.
Thank you.
I think that was very eloquently put, and I think it's a position that we all mirror, and we do, and it's not something that we want to do, is selling off different parcels of land. But sadly, we are where we are, and I do thank you for putting it so well.
Yeah. Councillor Hooper, did you have a comment, question?
I was actually going to make something very, very similar to Councillor Holloway's statement. It's very, very difficult to make these decisions and sell what can be described as our crown jewels, if you like, our pieces of land, our property. And I have no issue with kind of maybe dealing with the kind of brown site, grey site that we actually have on there, but there is green parkland, for want of a better word, social care, so, in terms of people's well-being and places to go and walk, etc. I do think it's a bit of a miss, but I also understand the challenges we have financially as a council, and so this is really very, very difficult and goes slightly against the grain. My question really would be is what is the advantage to the people of South Ockington in selling this land?
We will only know that when we see a development opportunity go to planning, which it will go for full consultation. And, you know, I think there's over a 200 person petition. So my expectation is it will go, we've said it's a full consultation. We will involve, and I won't, but whoever the developer is will involve the residents of Ockington in any decisions. And obviously it's a decision for planning.
Councillor Kemp.
Yeah, I mean, this is just tremendously tough, and I think we are all realists, and I think most residents kind of understand the situation. This isn't, in essence, about selling a piece of land. It's about what happens once the land's sold. Most of the objections are kind of about losing that green space. And I guess if I have a question, it would be that we're told in the report on a couple of occasions that because of the number of written objections, then the council is obliged to take note of the objections. And the best way to take note of it is to bring it here to this Cabinet meeting. But it seems to me that Cabinet has its hands tied and doesn't have any way of taking into proper consideration those objections. There seems to be no way that we can in using kind of planning means to zone that piece of land, to insist that there is a percentage of that land that remains as open space. It just seems that we have very few tools to actually do the job that we're being asked to do, which is to give proper consideration to the objections of the community. So for me, I accept that it needs to be sold. I just wish there was something we could do here positively to put some kind of protection on part of that land, because I think there is a win here if we had the means to do it.
I do think there's possibly opportunities for us to, once this has, obviously the land has been sold, that is obviously the first hurdle. I do think there's possibly opportunities for us when the decision is delegated to, obviously, myself, the leader, Section 151, and I think it's the Director of Place, to actually have those conversations and to try and be the advocates for the people that have signed the petitions, and from the strength of feeling from Cabinet tonight.
Councillor Kemp.
I think that's encouraging. Can we therefore come up with a further recommendation that enshrines that?
I'm sure we can. It might be that I look to my left and ask Dr. Smith to try and pen something rather quickly, and I will just read out the other recommendations slowly in order for him to catch up.
Thank you. This is probably one of those items that's going to come to Cabinet that absolutely doesn't sit with any of us. You know, not one of us stood for election to sell off pieces of land like this, and knowing what's likely to be round the corner. And I think I was quite demonstrable in the Save the Green Spaces, campaign. So, but, we're not in those places anymore. We're a bankrupt council through no fault of our own. So it certainly is something that, we have to put our big girl nicks on and really make this decision tonight. It's not in our hands to say no, because this decision will be made for us if it's not us. And, and as a Cabinet, we're here to make those tough decisions. So I would say start your recommendations, do your reading, and
Yeah.
I've seen that Dave's put his pen
Yep.
down, so
Okay. That's always a good
bought him
sign.
that bit
Good
of
filler,
time.
good filler,
Thank you.
leader.
Well done.
You know, this isn't the first time we've had to make difficult decisions. We've sold the parades of shops. You know, the next report is for some other areas of land that we're looking to sell. We are trying to be as mindful as we can and to try and do the right thing in the art of the possible. So, I'm going to slowly start, Dave. Is that okay? So, 2.1. Following consideration of the objections received under Section 123(2)(a) of the Local Government Act 1972 and set out in Appendix 4, to agree in principle to the disposal of the land formerly occupied by the Culver Centre at South Ockendon, the site as set out in Appendix 1. 2.2. To delegate authority to the Executive Director of Place following consultation with the Section 151 officer, Cabinet Member for Finance Resources, and I do wish to add in the leader, to agree to the disposal of the site, including terms and conditions of sale. Over to you.
I'll see this. I'll see whether what I've drafted represents the Cabinet's view. That the Executive Director of Place, Section 151 officer, the leader of the council and the portfolio holder for resources give further consideration to the terms of the sale, having regard to the concerns expressed by residents in the consultation.
Okay, Councillor Kemp. Yep. Okay, thank you, Councillor Holloway. Everybody. Okay, thank you, Dave. Okay, thank you.
Is that agreed?
All agreed? Yeah, all agreed. Thank you. Thanks for that. It was a very difficult item. So if we can get Councillor Watson back in. We're moving on to item 20 now, asset disposal, next tranche of properties for disposal. Please note that the appendices 3, 4 and 5 to this report are exempt, so please do not discuss their content. If anyone does wish to discuss them, we will need to consider taking a vote to go into exempt session. Councillor Morris Cook, could you introduce your item?
So this report sets out the next tranche of assets recommended for disposal as part of the Council's approved disposals programme. The disposals support the improvement and recovery plan and the medium-term financial strategy, with capital receipts directly contributing to reducing the debt and the long-term borrowing costs. Multidisciplinary review confirms that no strategic operational need for any of the sites that we are looking at. The disposals will follow the Council's governance process in the Section 123 requirements for best consideration. Before sale, the Council will confirm whether statutory open space procedures apply, and if required, public notices will be published in accordance with the Local Government Act. Amenity land provides no income, no strategic benefit, and creates ongoing costs and liabilities for the Council. Disposal removes the maintenance and the insurance burdens. Overages and over-restrictive covenants will be applied where appropriate to protect the Council's financial interest if redevelopment occurs in future use. Any alternative use would be subject to planning policy and statutory process. The land at the South Essex College, the college holds the freehold of the site with a long lease to South Essex College. The buildings are not owned by Thurrock Council. Options appraisal and financial analysis show the disposal is financially advantageous versus retention. The college will be invited to express an interest and as a special purchaser. Disposal supports the financial recovery and reduces, again, long-term liabilities. All disposals will be informed by an independent valuation advice. Flexible disposal routes, auction, tender, private treaty will be used to secure the best value. Proposals reflect the responsible asset management and supports the council financial recovery. Full legal, planning, statutory requirements will be met before any sale is progressed.
Does anybody have any questions on these, taking into consideration what I said before? Councillor Watson.
Thank you, and thank you for your report. The only thing I'm going to highlight is that I am concerned with the land on the north side of Coronation Avenue in East Tilbury. So currently we're speaking with developers, and there is quite a substantial amount of work that's actually going in there. And then I feel that until those plans have come forward, I'd like to ask Cabinet to defer this piece of land, further investigation on how that impacts with what the plans are currently in place, as well as it means for the bigger zone of East Tilbury.
I think after listening to you, I think it absolutely makes sense to just defer this one piece, because we want to do obviously the right thing and make sure that there are no conflicts there or no other burdens that are going to East Tilbury. So I think it's absolutely the right thing, and I'm happy to withdraw that piece from here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions? No? Then we'll move straight into the recommendations.
Approve the disposal of the council-owned freehold assets detailed in Appendix 1 and known as land at Catherine Close Grays, land lying to the south of Edward Close Grays, land adjacent to the Manaway north side Stamfordley Hope, land adjacent to the Manaway south side Stamfordley Hope, and the site of the South Essex College Grays. Delegate authority again to the Executive Director of Place in consultation with the Section 151 Cabinet Member for Finance and Resources to finalise terms and proceed with the disposal of each asset listed in the report. All disposals are to be undertaken in accordance with the Council's governance procedures and the duty to secure best consideration.
Agreed? Okay, thank you. Thank you, everyone. That concludes the business of the meeting this evening, and I now declare the meeting closed at 7:57. Thank you.